order. Roll call, Mr. Hendricks. Here. Ms. Cobb.
Here.
Truitt.
Here.
Mr. Owens. That was sick. Okay, the first thing today we want to know, ask these during the public comment section to speak on the Coosa River fishing. Mr. Rickson, if you want.
Yeah. Morning.
Good morning.
You have a beautiful place up there. I love it. I love mountains and trees. Nice trip over here. My name's Rich Ripka. I'm a community organizer for Coosa Riverkeeper. Are you familiar with our organization? We go all the way from the dam at Wise Lake all the way to Wetumpka. So we got 5 lakes. Of course, the Coosa extends over to Georgia above Wise Lake. This resolution that we're asking you to consider is from our state legislators that we're working with. So it's not completely our own creation, but our legislators came to us and said, would you take this to the county commissions and the city councils within your watershed? So you're one of our watershed counties. I'm glad to know you. I'm from St. Clair County. Don't hold it against me. It's a beautiful place to live. But basically, this resolution is asking to basically disagree with any restrictions on bass tournaments. This is a huge revenue for the communities along the Coosa. The tourism, the hotel stays, the gas stations, the restaurants. And basically this restriction that the DCNR is proposing would basically really hamper bass tournaments on the river. And they've taken a study that they did on one lake, Ely Henry, and then applied it along the entire Coosa. This is a major blow to tourism, major blow to the revenue that these areas and East Alabama in general, benefits from these tournaments. There's also, we feel as a science-based organization, there's a lot of other things that affect the health of the river and the fish. Pollution, low dissolved oxygen, nutrient loading, and those are things that we study. We put out a swim guide every year. We basically go out every week. We have interns that go out and sample the water at, I think, 50 different locations, and then come back to the lab and basically publish a swim guide saying, safe to swim here, not so good here, this is fine. We also promote the fish consumption advisories. There's a lot of pollution that affects the fish. We've got PCBs, we've got mercury, and even though that's done by the Alabama Department of Health, we help post signs at boat ramps and that type of thing. So we're involved very much in the health of the river. And we just feel that the economic impact of this is such that they shouldn't be allowed to impose this resolution on bass fishing, bass tournaments only. It wouldn't affect the recreational angler, but it would extremely hamper the tournaments. So what we're asking is that you consider this proposal. Do you have this document? Have you all had a chance to review this particular document? This is more or less an explanation of what this entails. I'm not sure. I have copies if you'd like them. Basically, it explains, I can read through it real quick. Alabama Department of Natural Resources proposed a slot limit regulation on tournament fishing on the Coosa River. We're working with Representative Lipscomb, Representative Robbins, and Senator Kelly on this issue to ensure that these slot limits are actually protective of the fishery and the local economies that rely on fishing tournaments for tourism revenue. Coosa Riverkeeper's mission is to protect, restore, and promote the Coosa River and its tributaries in Alabama. Our goal is to ensure that any proposed regulations integrate water quality, data, and concerns with the proposed slot limit. Coosa River suffers from degraded water quality due to myriad of issues, including low dissolved oxygen, high nutrient loading, and industrial pollution. Our organization wants to be sure that in an effort to improve the fishery, that the regulation does not harm local economies, that rely on the river tourism revenue, and addresses the systemic issues that are causing the fishery to be in decline. And then go into the proposed resolution. In my mind, it is a very positive statement. Of course, number one is opposition to restrictions, but then 2, 3, and 4 are a commitment to support everything that can be done to improve the health of the river and the fisheries and collaborate on other solutions. So we're asking you to consider this resolution if you pass it. I've been to Clay County, I've been to Cherokee County, they both adopted the resolution. Working on DeKalb, but I'm pleased to know you folks. I'm glad to be here, and just hope that you can consider this and pass it for us.
Any questions, Kendra?
Why are you not doing a statewide deal? Why are you just doing Coosa River?
That's not our decision. This is Department of Conservation and Natural Resources that is imposing this strictly on the Coosa.
So none of this stuff would be on like Logan Martin or anything like that?
Oh, Logan Martin's on Coosa.
Yeah.
So we go, our jurisdiction as a river keeper goes from the dam at Liza Lake all the way down to Wetumpka, where the tailwaters come in and form the Alabama River. But the Coosa continues, it affects Liza Lake also. I was in Cherokee County last week, I think, and they adopted the resolution. Yes, sir.
How is it that the Coosa River Keepers don't go all the way to the state line? I'm just curious why they stop there at the dam.
We may at some point. Right now it's covered by Coosa River Basin, which is a Georgia organization. So they start there where the Coosa forms and come down to include Liza Lake. It may be possible that in the future we will also have that territory as a river keeper. I love it up there. I mean, I love the country.
Is that part of Smith Lake too?
No.
What river is that on? It's farther west, isn't it?
Yeah.
Big river.
It's west of Birmingham.
Yeah.
So,
Tallahassee River, how the different rivers connect.
What do you know about this Indian Creek Reservoir that's proposed?
I don't know anything about it, to be honest with you. Is that here?
It's in Carroll County. They're fixing to take 18 million gallons of water a day out of the Little Tallahassee River and pump it into Georgia. It ain't coming back.
Yeah, that's outside of our jurisdiction, but I understand the issue, believe me. Now, let's talk to, Mr. Truitt. I'll talk to you about it. And we work closely with Alabama Rivers Alliance, who I believe is working on it. I talked to them the other day.
Yes.
Very competent group. They pretty much do the same thing we do as far as legislation and looking at local issues. Very good people. Work closely with them.
I don't really understand why, I guess this is DNR,
Department of Conservation and Natural Resources.
Okay.
DCNR.
I don't understand why they've targeted one section of water for one particular activity, because normally if they want to change game rules, it's, we got too many does, we put them on the schedule for next year. If we got not enough, then, they change the rules every year a little bit to manage the wildlife.
Yes, sir.
How do they figure this is managing the wild? I mean, taking the average size fish out of a tournament. I don't understand.
If I could explain government, I wouldn't be here. I mean, I really don't understand, but they did, like I say, they took one specific study and then applied it to the Coosa River all the way. And even though it's not in our jurisdiction as a river keeper, it still extends all the way to the state line. So Wise Lake is included in this too.
See, recreational fishing is already has that limit. You have a slot limit where you cannot catch the fish that are in that certain size. They're trying to impose that on tournaments as well,
Right.
which from what I understand, most of the time with tournaments, those are catch and release fish. In fact, they have to be alive most of the time for them to even count them in the tournament.
Well, there's a whole
It's just a whole thing about
whole
that.
scenario there. There's a lot of other solutions, like a catch, weigh, and release. What's happening now with the tournaments is, you know, they ride in the live well for 3 or 4 hours. The health of the live well is up to the fishermen, so we don't know whether there's enough oxygen. They're yanked out of there, and they're traumatized, and then they release them at one point, and that could be 20 miles upstream from where their natural habitat was. So that's not, you know, there's other solutions, there's other things that could be done, but just taking these size bass out of a tournament's catch just kills bass fishing.
Well, tell me again what the size was that they're trying to restrict.
14 to 20.
14 to 20. So 14 to 20 you can still catch. You just can't under this proposed tournament rule.
Right. I mean, at recreational anglers, it doesn't affect at all. It's just during the tournaments that those aren't allowed, that size fish would not be allowed at the weigh-in. So that forces bass fishermen to go bigger. And those fish are harder to catch, or, you know, so it basically kills tournaments. Anglers are furious about it. I mean, the bass clubs and everything. And there's high school, I mean, fishing is our native sport here in Alabama, especially along the Coosa. The high school tournaments that they have, they would be excluded also. So we just feel there's a better solution.
Thank you.
I'm available anytime. I'll leave Chairman Kilgore with my card, but I also will pass these out to you if you don't mind. It's a complete explanation of the whole thing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
I'm gonna put this resolution on.
Like, you don't know. Get into a little bit more.
Certainly got to do a little work on it to make it where it reads appropriately for Cleburne County.
Revenue Commissioner, do you have anything?
I don't have anything. We continue to collect your money and get it out. That's what I was doing this morning when I realized, oops, I'm supposed to be here, so I'll go back and write checks as soon as I'm gone from here. But y'all have any questions for me? Thank y'all.
Corner?
I do. Good morning, how are y'all? So, what I wanted to talk to you about was kind of pick your brain and then let's try to get something set up on indigent burials. I know from what I understand in going into office, we don't have an indigent burial program, we cremate. And this is just information that's been passed down from previous corners to me. But I had a situation come up this actually happened over the weekend with a day work session, worked out perfect. But in the past, what I've always understood, and y'all correct me if you understand any different, if a family comes in and denies the right of disposition to a decedent, at that point I've always waited at least 72 hours, kind of depending on the case and the shape of the body. If it's not a good situation, we've always tried to rush it up to at least give it a 72-hour period. But I have waited as much as a week before submitting a court order request to the probate judge's office, and then the probate judge sends that on to the circuit judge, and then they'll grant the cremation, and then the county pays for that person to be cremated. At that point, we pick up the remains and just bring them back and hold them in the coroner's office there. I've got everything, that's all the ones that I've dealt with are actually sitting on the shelf in the office. And what I had come up this weekend was, I had a funeral home, I had a call at the end of the week last week, released the body to the funeral home. This is over in Georgia. This funeral home calls me Saturday and he said, hey, what type of indigent program do y'all have? Indigent burial program. I told him, well, we don't have an indigent burial program, we do a cremation. And he said, okay. And he said, so what do we do there? And I said, well, the unfortunate part for the family is, I said, we've already released the body and they're in Georgia. I said, the county's not going to be responsible for getting those remains back here. I said, that's going to cost us money. He said, well, we'll do that for you and we'll get the body back. He said, but what happens once the cremation's taking place? I said, well, we hold the remains. Their family, unfortunately, doesn't get them. And he said, well, they want the remains back. And so here's the issue. We need to come up with something. I'm asking y'all to, let's look into it. Let's draft a resolution going forward to where we have a plan. This is when we come in and we take possession of the body and we perform the cremation, the county pays for it. What do we do at that point? Do we hold the remains? Do we bury the remains? Do we give the remains back to the family? Legally, I don't think we can hold the remains, but what you're going to get into is when this is coming about, well, I'm just going to deny claim to the body, we'll let the county pay for the cremation, then I'll get a free cremation out of that. You know, I talked to Calhoun County Coroner on Saturday afternoon, and he said what he does, and I'm just throwing out ideas and we can talk about it, but he said what he does is he paints the picture real bad for the family to make them understand what's going to happen and try to basically force them into coming up with the money. I've not ran into it being a money issue as much as I have. It's just been an issue of where the decedent was estranged from his family or her family, and it's one of those situations to where they just didn't have family that was willing. Not necessarily they didn't have the money to do it, but they didn't have the desire because of whatever their family issues were. But he said what he has always told families is, you reimburse the county the cost of a cremation at a funeral home's price. And then the county will release the remains back to you. So basically, we would pay what we're contracted or what we agreed to pay the crematory that we use. And then if that family wants to get those remains back, they would pay the county what that funeral home would have charged the family to do the cremation. I don't know if that's something we can do. We probably need to consult with Jason on this and.
Well, going back to the deal you were talking about over the weekend, who signed to release the body? You got a form that somebody's got to sign?
But I don't get a signature, so what happens, like, when I'm on the call, the family will tell me, I say, hey, what funeral home do you want to use? They'll give me XYZ funeral home. I'll get in touch with that funeral home and I'll release the body to that funeral home at that point. It's all verbal, I don't have any kind of signature releasing the body.
So we need to get Jason to give us a definition of that, because if somebody requested that body to go to Georgia, and then who requested it, and well, look at it, that's their problem.
Right, that's their problem, it's not our problem, you know. And like I said, I've not ran into it being a money issue as much as I've ran into it being I don't like them, I ain't gonna have nothing to do with them. You know, this is on y'all, I'm gonna deny rights of disposition, and then at that point, we're stuck with it. We've got to do something. But it's an issue that can come up, and let's face it, y'all, we're dealing with a generation of people, and when I say that, I'm talking about my generation of people, that they don't want to accept responsibility like they should, you know.
It sounds like you would have to get Jason to find a legal, make everything legal, if it needs to be signed before it's released.
Well, and you know, sometimes I don't deal with families personally. A lot of times it's over the phone, and they tell me, hey, this is the funeral home I want to go to. That's not really the issue as far as who it's releasing to. What I'm getting back to is, once they got there, they realized, oh, we ain't got the money to do this. And they're looking for an easy out, is
At that
basically what
point, they shouldn't be able to come back on us. Why don't we just task Jason to get with you or whatever he needs to do and come up with a policy, then we'll review it. How about that?
That sounds good to me. I mean, that's the start point, that's where we needed to come to.
I mean, it looks like to me, there should be some form somebody got to sign or, I mean, I understand.
Oh, now, when you get into cremation, so once you get to the cremating, the body, yes, at the crematory, once I've got the court order, I then have the authority to sign the cremation authorizations at the crematory. So I sign as the authorizing agent as the Cleburne County Coroner. Family's taken out of it at that point.
I mean, you know more about it than I do, I don't know crap about it. It looks like to me, if you're transporting a body across the state line, somebody's got to sign something. Yeah.
Well, it's not, there's those laws, but like I've told people before, we don't have dead people police sitting on the interstate seeing how many people are bringing their body back for, you know.
Not stopping hers.
Yeah, and,
Let's let Jason give us some ideas.
okay,
May I ask,
Yes, ma'am.
And so you keep their ashes,
but you don't even know if you.
Is this beginning to be an accumulation?
It's, well, it's going to be at some point with the way things are going this day and time, yes. Like right now, I've got, I think about 5 or 6 that are in the morgue that has been from previous coroners and during my term too. I mean, they're just sitting there on the shelf, you know. And that's something that we probably need to look into, and that's, we can talk about this, possibly buying a burial vault, sitting it somewhere where we can put these cremains in this burial vault, leave the lid on it. Once that vault gets full, it'll take a long time to fill up a burial vault. I'll never see it in my time. But once you fill up a burial vault, then we can take it and bury it into
It's just.
unknown space. I know, it's hard to
I mean, it's hard to think of a human being, you know.
believe. It's hard to believe, but there's people out there that will, you know, they'll turn, and it's, like I talked with Patrick the other day in Calhoun County, he told me, he said, I'm doing 5 and 6 cases of this a month. I mean, I've had maybe 5 cases, my full.
Does your association have any kind of guidelines?
Not really, no. I mean, we're gonna have a conference in April, I can bring it up, but it's basically to each his own, that's how each county deals with this individual.
Let's let Jason look into this for us.
Okay, you have Jason get in touch with me, or,
Can do that.
okay,
We'll pass a resolution tasking him and then we can get started.
okay, thank you. Got any more questions for me? Thank you.
Consent agenda.
Nothing? Human resources, anything? Tanya, you have anything?
I am just trying to get caught up from last week. And got a lot going on. If you guys, it would be good if y'all could find some time in your schedules to come sit down with me individually and go over some updates of things going on. I haven't had a chance to look, but if you're a department head and you haven't finished your website stuff, you know, try to get that done. I know that it was going to take some folks a little bit longer, and that's fine. Because we probably, the plan would be to launch hopefully in end of April, 1st of May is to get everything launched. That's the new goal. Okay. Other than that, I think there's no, I don't have, from last week, and Lee may have this on his list of things to talk about, but the appropriations request.
You go ahead.
Okay, so the appropriations request, we met with Roger's office about 3 bridges, funding for that, and then we met with Tuberville's office regarding the upgrades that we're looking to do for the courthouse. Both of those requests will require matches. I think, does yours, I think yours will require a match, right? Yeah. And then the courthouse one will be through USDA Community Facilities, and that will require a 25% match. According to Wagner Engineering, the upgrades that they were looking at would total about 1.2 million. So that would be the request to, I believe, to Tuberville's office. All of those numbers, I will have to get more specifics on those. But what I need is if you guys want us to move forward on those two requests, I need y'all to say, Tanya, move forward with Wagner Engineering on those requests, and we will get those filed. But that needs to be in consideration when Lisa starts putting together the budget, those matching funds, okay? And I think there was a question to Laura that Laura had about the funds, the offshore drilling funds, if we can use that for matching.
I would like to find out if we can use any of that offshore's money to do that 25% match to the courthouse, because that's building. So we need to find out if you can use some of that money towards that.
The guidelines that I saw do not seem to have a problem with that, but I would definitely
So
need
just
to dig
check on
into
it
it
tonight, because
more.
that would be the best way to spend our money, using 25% of that for the matching fund without having to go into any of our other funds,
Right.
because it's there.
I have that money, can be used for infrastructure too.
Well, I know that, but that is, you're using it towards building that we've got to keep up anyway.
It can all be used for buildings or property that you're purchasing to put a county building on. And up to half of the amount that we get each year can be used on roads. But only half of it, roughly.
Which is not, it's not, even if we split it up, it's not going to be a lot towards road, but this would be a $1.5 million project, which would, plus it benefits the whole county as a whole, because we're looking at the elevator, which has been outdated for so long, plus the courthouse, there's a lot of things that needs to be updated at the courthouse. It's a building that we need to get it up to standard. We need to continue keeping our buildings where they need to be. So I'm just asking for us to kind of look and see if it can be used. If it can, I'm suggesting that we use that fund for our matching.
Okay.
My top priority is a bridge that 1,000 people cross it every day. And if there's money left over, the courthouse is fine, but the bridge is my top priority.
Yeah,
Right.
but we're talking about 25% of that, but we also have other funds too.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm having to, I had to take part of my funds for the matching fund for the bridge that I did out of my funds. It wasn't a whole, it came out of mine, because it was in my district.
I'm just not willing to commit today. We can look into
No,
it.
I'm just saying, first we need to see if it can be done,
Okay.
and then we need to consider it.
And we can have, I can have that conversation with Wagner and say, do they feel like we need to, in order to get the road funded, do we need to put it with both Tuberville and with Rogers, or are we okay asking for both and splitting the ask? At the end of the day, we can go through the grant process to get the money for the courthouse, because it is a USDA grant. It is a USDA Community Facilities grant. The appropriations process for that is just a way of jumping over that whole process of filling out the grant and going before the grant committee and all of that stuff. It's just a way of directing them to actually give us the grant. So there is a way to get the funding if we don't do the appropriations. It's just it's a longer process.
Did you say 20 or 25%?
25%, I think, is that's what Wagner told me. I've not verified that. It's the same grant that the city of Heflin's using to fund the police station.
And on the bridge, we have to, what is it, 20%?
20% is what they.
20%.
And it's usually 20%, yeah.
Because that's what I had to take out of my funds.
At some point, we need a contract with Wagner,
Mm-hmm.
because right now, all we got is a contract on her bridge.
Correct.
And I don't know who needs to negotiate it, but the one we got now, we paying too much.
Okay.
The discussion that we've had, you know, that I've talked with Tammy about, that we needed Jason to really look at it and negotiate it and be more specific about what we're being charged for.
I agree.
You know, I know that, we paid out a lot and it came out of my funds. And that we do need to know what it's for, but I feel like we need to get Jason and Lane to negotiate that contract, because we got a 1.5 or $1 million project.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean,
If y'all
$1
want,
million project that we didn't even have.
Wait a minute, I agree totally with what you're saying.
But yes, we
But I don't
didn't
like
include.
getting charged $5,000 because he made 2 phone calls.
What does those phone calls consist of?
Okay, that's what we need to
That-
know.
Yeah,
that's what-
for example, I haven't even seen the contract, and he called me 2 weeks ago and Danny said, oh, that might have cost us $300 or $500. I said, what are you talking about? You know,
Yeah. And that's what we're wanting, a more clear path of what the contract, do I feel like they're hiding something? Do I think they've done extremely well for us? Yes, I do.
yes, so what Jason and I talked about and Jason said, send me your wish list, basically what you want it to look like. And then he would negotiate, not me, he would negotiate what that would look like. So, I mean, specifically, they need to be more transparent with who's doing the talking, what are they talking about, who are they talking to, letting us know those things before they do them so that we are in the know. What don't want to happen is someone to call you and talk to you about something when you didn't know, you're not aware of those conversations.
Yeah.
And then being aware of having the details of
And
right.
also too, we wanted to work the contract up where it would be the city and the county together, and that the billing keeps separated, but instead of having 2 contracts, we just have 1 contract that would include the city and the county. But as far as the billing would be kept separate.
I don't know that we can do that.
Talking to Jason, I don't know that we can, or it's in our best interest to do that. So, it might be in our best interest just to focus on our stuff.
One time we was talking about, because the city has a contract.
right.
The county has a contract, and if we're all going after this, we're all going after money, that we need to kind of work together to keep it where, we all know what each one of us needs.
Agreed, yeah.
And what's the most important. And I think the city is on board with, from my understanding, what we gathered was, they know bridges are important, roads are important for us. They don't want to step on our toes there. But we also need to work together as a group.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, and I just say, that's, from my perspective, that is communication on our part and their part, just us staying on. And if you want me managing that with Wagner, then, that's just gonna be something that we work on, that we communicate with them on a regular basis. So
So we'll just have, for Lane and, Jason to look at the contract, negotiate the contract, and bring it back to us.
Okay.
And
Yeah, I haven't even seen the contract.
it was just a simple contract.
Come see me and I'll give it to you.
That one was, but this would be countywide.
I got a question for HR, sort of slipped my mind a while ago. Where are we at on our policy updates?
I have sent a few more things to Jason, but I haven't spoken with him as far as what he's reviewing. Because every time I have something, I've asked all department heads to give me anything that they're concerned about. And as I've gone through it, I've sent him things. Lane sent me some things last week that he wants us to research, and I've sent all of that to Jason. So I need to try to have a meeting with him and see where he is on it, if he needs anything from me.
What about the, I don't know what you call it, I call it the benefit fair. Did you get any updates on that?
Yes, I have everything scheduled right now, waiting to hear back from one other person for February 19th. So everybody will get information on that as soon as I hear back, and I'll have a listing of who's gonna be here.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, we need that as soon as possible to give the employees notice. Okay, where are we at? Lee?
The only thing I've got is I've had a application turned in for a subdivision. It is what's considered in the regulation a minor subdivision, which means all the lots are off of the county road, so there's no interior infrastructure or anything like that. So the process on that is I've got to review the plat, which I've done, and it matches everything that it needs to match. So then y'all approve the plat. I write the permit. At that point, they can start selling lots, and they have a year to have all the signatures and the plat recorded at the courthouse. But it's down on 13th, is where it says in the Arts District.
What did, if you can put a septic tank on, say, a 1 acre lot, what does the health department say about that? Is it soil conditions, or is it uniform that you need X number of square feet for a septic system?
Septic systems are based off a number of bedrooms, so that determines, that's one of the factors that determines the length. The other factor is the soil type. And
So, but we don't have any kind of regulations or anything that says you can't build a house on 100 by 100 lot.
the
100 by 100 lot, you couldn't have septic system.
right, the minimum for a septic tank is 1,500 square feet, or 15,000 square feet. So basically a quarter of an acre. You get below that, you don't have room for a conventional system. It has to be some type of engineered system. All these lots are just shy of an acre. So,
Go ahead.
I get things to keep talking. There ain't any way that two houses can tie into one. Do we have anything that prevents that?
No, and they can. So as long as you have the tank sized appropriately, a lot of times when they do that, each house has to have its own tank, but then you can tie those two tanks into a single septic field.
We don't have anything on that.
We don't have nothing.
Does it help?
As long as it's all on the same property, you can't cross property lines with it. So if you've got one lot, the lot beside it can't tie across that property line. But if you put two houses on the same lot, you can tie both of them into.
Okay, so I wasn't even thinking about two houses on the same lot. I was thinking about an acre here, an acre there, and a house here, and a house there, so they can't work together.
They can't cross property lines.
Okay.
What is it, 1,000 gallons for 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom?
Four bedroom, max, once you go over that, it's 1,500, and then sizes up from that.
The majority of your septic tanks are what, 1,000, 500, 1,000?
Well, 1,000 gallons is the minimum, so
1,000.
even if you put in an RV in, you've got to have 1,000 gallons.
So
it doesn't matter if it's a trailer or a house. It's bedroom wise.
It's bedrooms.
So what do you need from us? on this deal. I mean, it sort of sounds like it's just something you sign off on, and, cause we don't have any rules or regulations.
Pretty much y'all tell me that I can sign off on it. I mean, it's just, it's supposed to be, the commission's supposed to approve the plat. I review it, make a recommendation to y'all to approve the plat, and I approve the plat. And
But
Yeah.
they have to go by that subdivision law that the county put in place years ago,
then I have to blow the
which
dust
is,
off
which is a little complicated.
of it.
I mean,
Well, for a minor
If
subdivision, it really
you,
would.
if you coming off a county road, that, a lot of that don't apply.
Yeah, for it being just, if all the lots on the road is considered minor, and they really ain't much for it.
All the driveways will be to a county road for each house.
Yes. And there's no interior.
I mean, if we don't have the rules and regulations, I mean, we don't have no control. I mean, all we can do is just sign off on it, right?
Is there any caveats on that says what type of structures they're gonna put on? Is it gonna be mobile homes most likely?
It's probably gonna be mobile homes. I mean, they're 90 by 400 acre, 90 by 400 foot lots. So,
90 by 400,
They'll have to turn them on one way.
that's a long one.
sounds like a mobile home.
But yeah, I mean, we don't have anything that,
There you go, John.
we don't have anything that really specifies anything other than that as far as the way it's laid out.
Is this the first one?
It's the first one I've had to do.
Cause nobody's ever brought one to us before. I've been here 10 years.
Yeah,
Never happened.
it's the first one I've seen, because I had to go find the regulations and.
So a lot of these has been done, like there's some close to me that's been done in the last couple of years. So they didn't go through the right procedure.
Well, so the ones I know of, if it's more than greater than 5 acre lots, and a lot of those, if you look at them, they're 5 acre lots or real close to it. And then there's some stuff in there too, though, like if I'm breaking off an acre for one of my kids, that don't count. There's some exemptions in there too, and a lot of, I do kind of eyeball some of it, most of them fall within the exemptions of it. But this is the first, hey, we're taking a 10 acre tract, we're breaking it up into lots, and we're gonna sell lots.
Do we need to be considering going back to our mobile home, that we worked on and maybe going back and changing some of it up?
Well, I mean, we're gonna go out and talk to Randy Price, because you know what happened last time we did that,
But I thought that once we passed,
the local.
the local right,
I don't think that
that,
gives him control.
that we can, that they were all for us then going in and doing our mobile home restriction.
I think we just need to sit down and talk to Randy,
Yeah,
and I'm all for that, but
because, you know, of course, I have mobile homes. I'm not against mobile homes, but I am against bringing in one that's not a safety construction for people.
Campers and sheds.
Yeah, yeah, because we're having a lot of, and nothing, because my husband lives in a travel trailer, you know, not, you know, during the week. But my biggest concern is is it safe, and does it have septic tanks? You know, because I know we have them out in the county that don't have septic tanks. And we're gonna have to really, under the law, I mean, if we enforce that, should be able, when we pass that we connect the Alabama Power, the health department and us, where we would issue a permit through us that would go to the health department and then would go to Alabama Power.
I think, when I talked to Senator Price, the last time we sent something down there, I think the Alabama Fire was part of the holdup. I don't think they would say they would willing to do that.
But when I talked to Randy, he said he had the Alabama Power, he felt like he could get them on board with this.
Let's just
So
go back.
let's talk to him and let's try to work something out for the, you know, like I said, to protect our county.
I need an amendment to the road department's budget to pay for the spring spraying, since we increased that, the chemical is gonna be $12,000–14,000 more than we appropriated for.
Sorry, I never pulled you that number.
I was not aware we had any increase.
What Terry's wanting to do, the pre-emergence, what he's wanting to do, without the glyphosate in it, and that increase was the $12,000 something. And that's why I was supposed to pull in those numbers and I didn't.
That pre-emergent is not glyphosate, so it should not change.
No, but the pre-emergent mix has glyphosate in it. It was a pre-emergent glyphosate, and
So you want, Terry wants to put the substitute in there.
yes.
Okay. Is it still time to do that?
We got time. I gotta get on it, but we got time.
Okay, well, my understanding was that we were not gonna do that this year. And, I think we need to have a resolution on increasing the cost like that. I guess that's what you're asking for, the resolution to spend
Amend
money.
his budget for that 12–14,000, whatever it is.
I think we need to also be concerned with coming up with a plan where we can work on what makes sense and what's best for the roadsides and what's best for the people that have concerns about the chemicals. So I don't know anything about the chemical we're talking about adding, but what we had discussed doing, Lee, when we agreed to take this thing out, was that we would wait and see this year and see what happens. Because we're still gonna spray brush, we're still gonna spray broadleaves anyway. What you're talking about killing is ryegrass and fescue. And ryegrass and fescue is not what we see when we ride down the roads and have concerns about the visibility or, you know, getting in the road or blocking people's view, pulling out in the road, all that sort of thing. Fescue and ryegrass is not the problem. But the taller, the Johnson grass and the taller broadleaf weeds and the privet hedge and on and on and on. There's tons of vegetation that we do need to be worried about. The ryegrass and fescue is that where you're having a problem? People can't see over the fescue?
I mean, I'm just wanting to spray.
I want to spray too this year because that's what we agreed to,
I mean,
but
if you want to go back and rework the whole thing, I mean, I'm good with that. We just need to sit down and do it. We can't do it right here in this meeting. But we can sit down with Lee and come up with a plan. I just don't want to skip a spraying. And to be able to do that spraying and substitute that chemical, he needs to do some more money. That's all I'm trying to do right now.
absolutely. But I just don't see ryegrass and fescue as being a major concern. Now, what we did have questions about is how much harder will it be to mow without using a broad spectrum killer like glyphosate or a substitute for glyphosate. The question is, what month you gonna mow, June or July-ish, somewhere along in there? For mowing, just regular mowing.
I mean, for a regular mow, a lot of times around June, we'll hit just some of the major collectors. We don't do, we haven't done a full mow in the spring in 3 years now. We've made a trip down 10/19/49 is what we've done.
The glyphosate kills the ryegrass and fescue and makes everything else worse because it doesn't shade out any of those weeds. So then, you know, the amount of broadleaf killers that he has to use becomes more critical. But the whole point of taking the glyphosate out and changing things up this year was to wait and see. If his mowing goes from 6 weeks to 12 weeks, then obviously we would incur bigger costs on mowing. But if the ryegrass and fescue is not that bad, and we've got good coverage with Bermuda grass, and that's what happens in June, then the mowing's not gonna be any worse, and we still got our broadleaf weeds killed. And the glyphosate is not to kill broadleaves. You see where it makes them worse, you kill off all the grasses, and then the weeds get worse.
Well, do you want an amendment, I mean, do you want a resolution to not spray this spring? Because
No.
the resolution we passed last month was just to do away with chemical, it wasn't to change the spray.
Sounds like you need to get a resolution for a plan
That's
And
what
if
I
that
was,
plan needs an increase of the budget, include it. If it don't, then.
that's exactly what Lee and I discussed, is that we would talk about a comprehensive plan for next year. But this year, what we talked about was take out one chemical and see what happens, see how it goes. Because it's my belief that as soon as it warms up, the fescue and the ryegrass, it's not gonna be a problem anyway.
So you're wanting to spray, but just take that one chemical out.
That's what I'm asking for, yes.
Not replace it with something.
Not replace it with a substitute, because I believe it's pointless to spray and try to kill everything in the spring, just so you can see a little better in June. I'm gonna have to see it to believe it. I'm gonna have to spray the broadleaves and spray the brush killer and see what it looks like in June, and see what it looks like again in whatever September, whenever we come around with the second mower. I don't wanna see the mowing increase from 6 weeks to 12 weeks, which is potentially what could happen. I don't wanna see us turn over more tractors, which is something that could potentially happen, but blacking out everything on the side of the road so that our roadsides wash away and fill up our pipes, that's not what we need to continue to do. And that's exactly what glyphosate or the broad spectrum killer is gonna do. It's gonna keep putting the gravel and the sediment in the ditches.
Okay. So you want a resolution?
I don't need a resolution. All I need is to do what Lee and I talked about ahead of time, but that
You
seems to
need
have
a
changed.
resolution because you can't make that decision. The commission has to make that decision.
I understand that. I didn't know that the commission made a decision to go and spend the extra money.
I just get with Lee and come up with a resolution, whatever y'all think needs to be done with it.
Well, here's my, if we take the glyphosate out of the pre-emergent treatment, which is the one we need to be doing right now, if we take that out, then that mix does not do what it needs to do. And that's why I made the statement that if we ain't gonna do the glyphosate, we ain't gonna pay the extra
For the ounce,
for the backup, or for the substitute, then just spraying the oust and the pre-emergent, we're not getting the desired effect that we're looking for this application anyway. So either we spray that mixed design with the substitution, this is my opinion. You either spray the mixed design with the substitution or you don't spray it at all for the pre-emergent treatment that we're doing right now.
My goal was to focus on the tall weeds, the brush, and the Johnson grass. Because, I mean, what are we even doing? We want to keep the roads safe so we can see around curves, so we can see to pull out. It's not fescue and ryegrass that's causing the problem. And Bermuda grass is shorter, but it's a summer grass. It'll be there all summer. And that's actually what all these things are designed to do, is to enhance the Bermuda grass. If we get good coverage with that, we don't require as much maintenance. But if we keep killing everything in February, and then all the weeds and brush sprout up with nothing to shade them out, then we have to go harder to control the tall brush.
But that, just so we understand, the whole purpose, you're correct. The end goal is to have Bermuda grass on the sides. So the process to that is, the way it's set up, like right now you've got ryegrass that's growing. The glyphosate, on this treatment right now, the glyphosate would kill the ryegrass. The pre-emergent sets in the soil, and when the fescue starts germinating, it delays the fescue germination to about May, when the Bermuda grass starts to grow. And that way, when the Bermuda grass is ready to start growing in May, it's not shaded out by the rye and fescue. If you don't take care of the rye and fescue, then come May, the Bermuda grass is not going to grow because it's going to be choked out with the fact. So then you're going to be left with rye and fescue. Is what you're going to be left with on the side of the road. You'll never get to that Bermuda grass coverage on the side without taking the two out on the front end.
How long have we been spraying? 3 years?
3 years.
3 years. And I still get complaints about high grass.
But
I mean, I
But
do
what
it in
you're
my
getting-
district.
what you're getting the complaints on is not grass stuff. It's some of the broadleaf stuff
That I did not put in that resolution last time to stop. We'll still be able to spray those things.
I mean, because in my district, it's still, because I'm thinking, okay, you're spraying, but I'm still having high grass that people cause and complain. And we're so far behind cutting it.
Well, and that's what I was supposed to say. Not really, when you go and look at a lot of those complaints, what the complaint is not necessarily the grass right on the side of the road, it's more the limbs and the stuff coming over blocking views. And we are getting caught up with the sidewalk, and that's gonna solve a lot of that. Majority of the issues in the last year has been overgrowth from the sides, not from the edge of the road.
So to clear up, your resolution last month that passed just simply said, Cleburne County Commission agrees to exclude glyphosate from usual right-of-ways, pretty much.
That's it.
So unless there's another resolution, it's gonna go forward with a substitute for glyphosate. Is that what you're saying?
There's an increase in cost
And
that
there's an increase in
Terry's
cost.
concerned about.
Okay, just make sure we're on the same page here.
So
I'm not a chemist.
I either need to skip the pre-emergent, or I need the amendment to cover the additional.
Nice. What kind of resolution y'all want? I mean,
Well, y'all know me, I'm no spray, so I've never changed my view on that.
If we can't try something one time that's just a little bit outside the box, I know the sales reps down there are gonna recommend spray dial every time. No question about that, but
put a resolution
if
out
we
there.
can't try something one time to try to make the environment better for everybody, I believe this stuff's toxic and I believe it's bad for our health to keep doing it. That's the primary reason. But I think we can manage our roadsides for 1 year without it and see what happens.
So before the meeting, you need to get.
I thought that was the resolution. Essentially, that's what we were passing. Part of it was a verbal agreement, part of it was on paper, but
Yeah, gotta be on paper.
I want to work toward, for next year, having a comprehensive plan that spells all this out that we can adopt and all agree on, but in the short term, I mean, I guess the question is, are we gonna buy a substitute product, or are we gonna skip the February spray?
The question is, do you want to skip the spraying, or do you want to pay for this spraying? That's the question right now.
I want to leave out the Roundup and any substitute for Roundup and not spray in February. And I'm not saying to not spray in February just to not be spraying, but there's no reason to spray in February.
Sure you can come up with a resolution?
I'm
Because if
fair.
not, it sounds like it's gonna go on just with that substitute.
Well, we'll have, I guess we'll have two competing resolutions. We'll have one that includes an increase and one that says to not spray, and they can't both pass.
My resolution is just to fix what we did last month. If you don't want to spray, then we need a resolution to vote up or down not to spray this spring. I mean, my resolution ain't got nothing to do with chemicals or nothing. My resolution's just got to do with paying the bills. If we're gonna do it, somebody's got to pay for it.
I don't know anything else to do except pass a resolution. We'll just want to spray the, what's the technical term, Luke? I call it one thing, but now we're talking about pre-emergent and,
So it is considered a pre-emergent treatment right now, is the whole thing, but in that treatment is the glyphosate, the pre-emergent, and that's what.
my resolution will be this, to eliminate spraying of the pre-emergent and the broad spectrum killer that is typically applied this time of year. Skip that and focus on a routine program for broadleaf and brush.
Can we not just make it simple? We're
Yeah,
not changing everything right now. We just need to know whether to spray or not to spray. And
I'm
I'm
putting
willing
a
to vote on
resolution
that.
on the table not to spray.
That's all that. Okay, on new business, I want to amend his budget in case he does spray. So,
Do you want a resolution put on the table too?
go ahead, Terry.
I'm done.
Okay.
So I have two resolutions. One to increase the department's budget for spraying pre-emergent with the substitution of the chemical, and I have one that is don't spray pre-emergent.
don't do the spring spray? Which way is the best way to?
I wouldn't say spring, because you're gonna pick up in about a month.
Pre-emergent.
Just making sure I understand.
Okay, me and you need to get together, because I'll get 10,000 phone calls about why we're not gonna spray, so me and you need to talk.
So,
And so we're clear too. So like right now, there's been a definite decrease in the amount of time we spend mowing. That decrease in that time spent mowing is when we're doing tar and gravel projects, reclamation projects, stuff throughout the summer. Just so everybody is clear, you know, if we go back to, it's taking me extended periods of time to mow grass, it's gonna directly affect what we can do in-house as far as reclaiming.
How long does it do to do a cut, in 6 weeks?
Right now, we're running about 7 weeks.
7 weeks?
Beforehand, we was running close to 12. But yeah, we can pretty much get it done. It's, the big cutback in the fall is pretty much cut it in half.
can you imagine for a minute with me here, a resolution that would eliminate the pre-emergent spray, but would target Johnson grass, broadleafs, and brush? Can you put together something like that? If that resolution were to pass?
I mean, it
It's
is.
what we talked about.
Yeah, it is an option. But you just gonna end up with, and just leave the rye and fescue on sides. That's what you would end up doing. And it would just be a broadleaf, woody,
Broadleaf, woody brush, and Johnson grass.
and Johnson grass.
That's what I would like to propose, and I don't know how to word it because Lee would have to spell it out, but it would essentially take away the pre-emergent spraying, and all spraying would be based on broadleaves, woody brush, and Johnson grass. To target the things we have a problem with, it's real hard to manage, real hard to mow, because Johnson grass can grow as tall as a tractor in what, about 2 weeks?
So that's gonna be 3 potential.
Laura's resolution is just don't spray.
You got that, Lisa?
Don't spray pre-emergent, right?
No.
Specifically.
No,
No
spray
spray
is
at all.
not- You can go back and look at all of my resolution in the past, and it's the same one.
No spraying at all. Not just pre-emergent. I've got a resolution for not spraying at all, and I've got a resolution for increasing the budget for the pre-emergent.
And then Mark's asking for one to specifically target broadleaf and woody brush and Johnson grass.
That would eliminate the pre-emergent rain.
It would.
You have anything, Lisa?
I still got something.
Okay.
Have you talked to the sheriff about the maintenance contract? Well, I mean, we gotta do something, we gotta start working on that.
Patrick sent it to me, and, I mean, I've kind of looked through it, I guess I'm just kind of waiting to see what kind of questions and what direction, and, so what Jason has to say about it. I know Jason went through the original one, and that's the reason it come out like it was, and so.
Does the sheriff, do you have the 2 contracts and then marked up what you're taking out?
No, we just drew up that one and sent it on when we, the one I got from Lee, kind of took it and changed some stuff to fit ours, and then that's the one we sent to Lisa.
You
So-
all have that as well, plus you have the one that is currently being used.
So we're wanting to dump that contract and do a new contract, which is just hourly. Okay. I mean, that's what you sent us, when it was just like 4 boxes for hourly rates and
Which is
one
kinda-
for parts markup.
Fred will speak out of turn here, or say something I don't know. But what I just had, I had some hourly rates for, the original contract was some hourly rates for mechanics, for admin work, and the labor side of it. And it didn't have any markup for parts on it. I think what John and them have come up with is they maybe have broke that hourly rate for mechanics down into a couple of different mechanic rates and then added a markup for parts.
I think that's right,
So that's, I guess, the difference between the two of them, is a little deeper breakdown maybe than what we have.
Will that solve your problem?
If somebody else will bid on it, it will. That's where I just want to make sure, because the original contract, Jason went through, and Jason was the one that really wrote it up. And, I mean, do I disagree with what they've done? I don't, but as long as, you know, I just wanted to kind of hear how the discussion went. And
I mean, we got to abide by the bid law.
Right.
And, you know, I mean, in a country boy way of doing it, of course, we'd like to go down the street to our closest place and say, hey, do all this. But we gotta follow the law, the bid laws, and if the contract's up in September, right? Sure. So, I mean, we need to get something going.
I would just like to see more competition on myself, and that's however that works out. But right now, it's,
What,
Can I say something? Correct me if I'm wrong, John. The reason the previous bidder at one didn't want to keep going was because of the paperwork. Because the contract said they wasn't supposed to charge a markup on parts. It was gonna be at their cost, which is what this one says. I mean, it's highlighted right here. That's the reason they quit. And it seems like the current contractor has just thrown that clause out the window. And are not doing it. I mean, I think they are marking up parts, correct?
yes, far down.
But they
Well, then-
violated the contract then.
So, I mean, you can read the contract. There may be something else in there that contradicts that. But section 12.5.2 says the contractor will charge Cleburne County for parts, supplies, and outside services as the items or services are used, and that contractor's invoiced cost as reflected in the contractor's repair order. So that's what the previous, contractor tried to supply all that paperwork proving, if they paid $10 per part, that's what they were charging us. The new one's not doing that. So if you eliminate the paperwork part, there may be more bidders.
Why is the new one not, that they have to provide?
Terry?
I guess this is for the sheriff. I mean, does each deputy approve his own work, or does it come back to the chief deputy?
It comes back to Patrick.
Okay, so why is he approving it then if it's not by the contract, I guess is my question. If they're not showing you the parts cost and all that stuff, then why are we going ahead?
I mean, I can't answer that for him, I don't know.
Did y'all have a meeting with them about that?
When me and Terry and Patrick went in there, what,
Oh, that's been
2 years ago, I guess?
right.
Or a year?
Yeah, probably 6 months into the contract.
Yeah.
I think they interpreted.
What was discussed at that time, why?
Well, oh, they was gonna be little angels, but I don't think since then they've been little angels.
I bet when you receive the invoice, though, I bet it doesn't say that there's an increase in the, there's not a markup on the parts, they just put the part, the charge of the part, that'd be my guess. So Patrick wouldn't know if they did increase the cost of the part.
But do they not, when they give him a bill, is it not broke down each part on there?
It is.
He may have to go back and evaluate all those parts to find out if we've been overcharged.
Yeah, I think it's broke down, but I don't think there's no proof of what they think.
They're not,
Yes.
they're not seeing a verification of their
But what
cost.
I'm saying is that Patrick needs to go to them and say, you need to provide me these documents. It's in the contract, you agree to it, you need to provide me these documents. Is that not, do you not think that's what it?
Oh, I agree. I mean, I know we probably need these cars and we need them on the road every day. But at some point, we're gonna have to put our foot down and say, hey, you ain't giving me all of what we require here. And I don't mind going over, are we talking to them, or go with Patrick, or, but Lee and you, or Patrick, whoever you want to appoint to do it, we need to get this contract deal rolling. I mean, we're gonna get down to, I think we gotta give 30 days notice, which if the contract runs out, we don't have to give that. But, we need to start putting something together, not wait till the last minute.
I'm real confused about why we're not allowing them to mark up the parts. You just said if we want to buy a set of tires, we need to go buy a set of tires, but how can we ask somebody to sell us tires for what they paid for them? Why in the world would they do business with us?
I mean, I'm okay with a markup.
Yeah, the new contract they propose has in there a percentage, which would still require them to show.
Yeah.
Is there a bid list on these parts?
Huh?
Is there a bid list on these parts?
Some of them, like tires is on the state bid list and all, but as far as water pumps.
They don't
it's
supply
not.
tires.
So when you got something that is on the bid list, does it have to come from one supplier, or can it come
It's
from
gotta
anywhere
go from
else?
anybody that honors that price. Make that right, Lee?
I see no problem with asking one of our vendors to match price off the bid list. That seems to make all the sense in the world. But to tell somebody they can only make 5% or 10%, or to tell anybody what they can or can't make, why would they do business with us? I think we need to take that
So they're making
completely
enough
out.
on labor?
Huh?
They're making enough on labor?
Yeah.
But
Well,
if,
let's get a contract price on labor, and let's get it.
but if
some
it's
sort of
not the
agreement.
state law, is it not a law under the government contracts that you're set only at that percentage? Is that not a law?
Why is
Well,
all,
then why did we even
I don't
come
know
up
what
with
the state
this if it
contracts
wasn't?
include.
Hey, let me ask this question. Has any of y'all ever even seen a state contract? I've signed 20 or 30 of them. They have a markup. They break it down into, let's just take example, trucks, small trucks, half-ton, three-quarter trucks. It'll break it down, it'll say this much for labor, this much markup for parts, and they break it down like that for everything. And you gotta do what they say. I mean, I signed them contracts, and if I sell them a digging water pump, and it says 25%, then that's what I mark it up, is 25%, that's all I can do by law. And they have a clause, I need to get y'all a contract, y'all need to read it. They have a clause in there too that says if you have to special order that part, that you can add, the cost, like shipping or whatever. But, I mean, I sort of think something like that may be what we need, but I think Lee and Sheriff, or the Sheriff's appointee, and, I mean, I don't mind doing it, or one of us needs to all sit down and come up with something, and then let Jason look over it and see if it'll work.
Terry, I make a suggestion that you do it, Terry, since you have access to contracts in the past. I don't. I'm not
with state
knowledgeable
bid
in that
list.
area. But I do want to ask a question of, why can we not, like the parts, you've got the Napa and you've got O'Reilly. Why can we not have contracts with them if those parts are taken to the, whoever's doing the work?
And I
But
think,
we have a contract.
and I think that may be in what Patrick has drawn up, that we do that.
That we have a contract with them.
Right.
But these parts stores, the service operations, they sell parts in. And that's part of their, basically their business, is selling parts. So to tell them we want you to do all the, you do all the wrenching, but we're gonna buy our parts somewhere else, that doesn't make any more sense than having a price restriction.
That's what a lot of them are doing. They've got an account. Some of the businesses in Heflin, the business has an account at O'Reilly's or Napa. They buy all their parts there, and all they worry about is the labor, and then the company pays.
If they're buying retail, I can understand telling them they can't mark them up, but if they're a wholesale parts dealer, they ought to be able to charge
County
what
won't
they
do
want to.
business with Napa because I owe a mortgage on it, which I think is the stupidest thing in the world, and I'll say that to anybody, but, the problem with buying your own parts and taking them is there's no warranty. Every installs in parts won't warranty any of their work because they didn't furnish the parts.
Yeah, I think there was a question on whether O'Reilly's had a state was on the state bid for parts.
The state contract is not an exclusive contract. It's a pricing contract with anybody in the area. I mean, at one time, Napa was the only one that had one in Heflin, but now, I don't know, Riley's may have one too, I'm not sure. But it's totally just for pricing. It's not saying, you know, go to XYZ parts store and buy all your parts, no matter. The state don't do that.
Well, I just suggest that you and the sheriff, the engineer, and Ryan get together and work this contract up.
Require the service center to use that parts list though, and those prices, I think that's
I
completely reasonable.
don't think the bid list breaks it down. Do they? Like, if you need a water pump, it ain't on the state bid list. If you need a set of tires, it is on the state bid list.
And y'all,
I don't
y'all should
think-
have a national bid list too, Sourcewell, that a lot of it.
Yeah, Napa has a contract with the federal government on pricing, so yeah, there's a lot of that too. I'll be glad to do it, I'd like Lane to reach out to Jason to make sure that I can, which I have no association with the Napa store now, other than I hold the mortgage. But I don't know why getting in trouble, especially with me. But I'll be glad to sit down with Lee and the sheriff's appointee, and we'll come up with something. May not be at this month's meeting, but by next month's work session, so we can discuss it. How about that?
Sounds good.
You reach out to Jason and ask him, and then just let me know, and if not me, if Mark don't want to do it, we'll let him do it or something.
I'll be glad to help out on that.
Okay.
Just want to bring attention to the fact that we have another holiday for our next commission meeting date, which is February 17th. So, yeah, I know, President's Day. So, might want to consider making that change. But the other things I have is I've provided you all a quarterly update of our revenues, just for you to look at if you're, whenever you have time to do that. And just let me know if you have any questions about anything. Of course, our revenues are not, just like our expenses, they don't all occur gradually over the year. Some of them are once a year kind of items. But I just wanted to let you know where we stand right now. Also, I've been working on your discretionary fund balance updates, but I've got to get with Lee because we've got a couple of questions about road work and what was covered by discretionary money, and if there were resolutions that would take that they were to use discretionary money for those roads.
So February 17th is a holiday,
Yes.
so I will post it in the courthouse that it's gonna be on the 18th.
That's fine.
You can have a little bit. Hey, I sort of want to request something. Okay, we're 4 months into the new year, which that's a third of the way through the new year. Could you look and see in the next 60 days and see if we're gonna have some money that we can free up to use on roads or other projects?
Yeah.
I mean, if it's, it looks like everybody's got projects and you might have matching money and all that stuff, so we need to sort of see.
I can do that.
I mean, I'm already hunting money and I ain't finding a whole lot.
I'll try to get you, like I said, I'm working on discretionary, just make sure that there's not money that you don't, aren't aware that you've got right now to work on projects. And, I'll continue to kind of look at the revenues. And when I say that, like, at the end of January, we've only got the first 3 months of revenue. Because a lot of our revenues, most of our revenues that we receive in January are actually December revenues. So that's why here it is, February the 3rd, and I didn't have those full numbers until January 31st, have all those revenues recorded until then. So that's why I'm able to give you the first 3 months of revenues after the end of January like that. I can just run balances. So I will try to see.
I would just like you to sort of look and see if there's somewhere that we're gonna, might have extra money that we can use on some different stuff. I do have another thing, Are you gonna have enough money to finish this contract out, Sheriff? I think from what I talked to Lisa, you're down to $5,000 or $6,000, all you got left, and this is,
That's one of my,
are you gonna have to have an amendment to your budget, or you got money somewhere else, or?
probably have to have an amendment to this, I don't know, it's wearing us out. I mean, just like this other one, that other vehicle where we had the radiator, had some leaking antifreeze somewhere, carried down there, and they said it's a radiator. I mean, we kinda have to go off what they say. I mean, they put a radiator on, I mean, a water pump on it, well, then they say it's a radiator, vice versa, then they say it's a radiator. Well, then, I mean, how do we know?
Yeah, I heard about that. They need to,
And it's still not right, and that's what we told them. I mean, I don't know, we told them we're not throwing any more money into that car till we find out what it is.
maybe in that contract, we need to look at something that's some kind of guarantee
Yeah,
that what they're gonna do is fix the problem. If not, they're gonna have to discount something.
right, yeah.
Okay, we can look at that, I'm sure. I was just curious, I mean, you're okay till next month, or you need?
Oh, no, I think we'll be okay for,
Okay.
yeah.
He has some money on some, he could shift on some of his.
Yeah, I think we'll be okay, it's just, I know we ain't gonna have enough to keep going like this till the end of the year, so.
I also wanted to bring a couple of other things to your attention. It has not always been done this way, but I will be making corrections. I did not know this for a while, but when we receive an insurance check for anything, we actually record that as a revenue. And if we want to use that, say if there's damage to a vehicle, say they hit a deer, and there's $5,000 claim, that actually has to be recorded as revenue. And then we can increase the sheriff's budget for that line item to make the repair. So if you hear me come back to you and say I need a budget revision for $5,000 for revenues that we're going to receive from an insurance company, that's what that's going to be about. Don't be surprised if you hear that. And they haven't always been done that way. We were kind of recording like if we had a request from the sheriff's department to use that insurance claim to make that repair, we would just offset the expense. We would report it as an offset to expense. It's just accounting, it amounts to the same thing, but that is how the proper way to do that.
So that's an amendment to the budget?
It's not, it will be if we have a claim like that, if we have an insurance
Question is,
claim.
how do we make sure it doesn't roll over into the next year?
What she is saying is, if you have an insurance claim, it's like when the jail got struck by lightning, okay, the insurance company sends a $10,000 check, it goes pretty much back into the general
It
fund.
goes back in the general fund.
But the bill came out of the sheriff's office budget,
That's correct.
so it's just a matter of.
So, my simple question is, you increase the budget by $10,000 this year. How do we know that $10,000 doesn't automatically get applied to the next budget?
We would need to know if it got spent that year or not. If it rolled over, like, we would just need to leave that in
I'm
the
just saying,
budget.
to make sure we don't,
Right.
like, it wasn't our intention to increase the budget $10,000 a year, it was a
That's right.
one-time increase, so as long as we keep track
Oh,
of that.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
She's got footnotes, she got footnotes on that.
I have original budget. I keep a copy of the original budget and I keep a copy of any amendments. We're required to do that by the examiner's office anyway, so we keep the original budget intact and also any changes, and there's footnotes on the changes, so
Okay.
that's not a problem.
My question is, okay, here's an example. The sheriff's department totals a $50,000 car. Okay, our deductible is $5,000,
25.
25,
but it was 5,000.
no, it was 1,000.
Oh, it was 1,000, okay. Whatever that figure
25.
is. Okay, who's paying the deductible? Is that coming out of the general fund?
It comes out of the sheriff's department.
So we only give the sheriff what the insurance pays, so it's minus the deductible.
Right.
Okay, I was just curious.
And then, the only other thing that I know of is, I know you all are aware that our audit for FY '22 is scheduled to start 1st of February. I received a message from, Kay Burke with the examiner's office last Friday, and he says that they're running a little bit behind. It's gonna be more like, he's shooting for February the 18th. He did send a list of some items that he can go ahead and start working on and pulling things that he'll need almost immediately or before they even arrive. And we're already working on those items. items. I'm already having some of those items scanned in and put into a file and put in their portal. So we are actually already working on it, although the auditors are not here in person yet.
Hey, could you forward me that, cause I didn't get an email on that.
About what they're requesting.
No, what the date is, they can start and all that.
It's all one
Because
email.
don't we have to sign a letter saying that we know of something or don't know of something?
Yeah, they'll
that they
get
need
to
look at?
that, but he hasn't gotten that far yet. Usually it's been my experience, it's usually a couple of weeks in before they get to that. Right now, they're just asking for things like a letter that has, all the commissioners that were in office during that year. That's a simple thing, it's the same as 21 pretty much, little bit of change in there, but not much. And then, they've asked for some bank statements and a couple of, GL reports and trial balance reports, things like that.
But you're
They have not
saying
asked for anything else yet.
they're looking at the 17th of August. Did
They're
you say
looking at
17th?
18th.
18th, so that's the day of our meeting.
That's their goal, is to start the 18th,
Okay.
which that won't affect our
That's-
meeting necessarily, just, it'll be during the day, our meeting's in the evening. It's
That's
just
all
a
I
matter
need
of
to know.
related
The
to
rest of
set
it's
up.
on you.
Yeah, and usually they come in here, do we need to?
Sometimes they will, if there's just one, a lot of times I'll put them in here. I know that he is planning on bringing a second person. They can either move over there, they're actually better off over here because they do interact with us a lot.
Just move
But-
this over there.
We could do that, we'll just play it by ear, see how much, if they bring in printers and things like that, sometimes they do, maybe to do it over there.
Yeah,
So-
and there is an empty office over there too.
Sure.
It's not as bad as it used to be because everything's electronic now, so.
Well, I know you talked about discretionary, I just need to find, because, I need to see how much I have in my discretionary, because the, senior citizens center in Fruiters, I don't have a cost yet, needs a new, couch, and all all the stuff they have in there, so I would like to be able, if I've got enough in my
I
discretionary.
feel certain that you do.
To purchase that for them. I'm going to look today, and I'm gonna get with Kim with the Senior Citizen Center, but I would like to be able to purchase that, and I will give you a amount once you give me the amount.
Okay, and I'm pretty sure you're in good shape because, you all added $87,000 out of reserve at one point for your discretionary funds, and then also another 150 on top of that. And if I'm not mistaken, and I talked to Lee about it a little bit this morning, yours has not been designated for a road project or anything, so you're actually sitting on a decent amount of
Yeah, I
of
think you
money
need
right
some
there.
of that on 33.
Yeah, 20,000 of it on 33.
So I just need to, know what's,
Yeah.
before I make a commitment,
I'll get you that number, like I said, I talked to Lee about it this morning, and he's gonna get with Tim, because Tim's also very involved in like what projects are using which fund. So as soon as I have a sit down with him, I'll know a definite number, but I'm pretty sure about yours, over anybody else's right now, and I know what you got,
Baseline.
right? So, well, I'll get with you on that.
thank you.
Anything from commissioners? Mark?
I had a couple of questions. We talked about, trying to do a public hearing regarding the Dallas Lodge. And we talked about February meeting, we were trying to do that. Is there enough time to notify and still have a hearing at the end of our February meeting to talk about Dallas Lodge, or?
I think you gotta pass a resolution surplusing it before you can do that.
Well, I wanna do it right, but if we need to have a hearing.
Why don't you, because I know that's sure is a quick time, trying to get these people together. Why don't you carry it on over
Okay.
and try to get it all, March, April? That way you have enough time to reach out to the people in that area. I don't think you've had time.
I've been reaching out, and everybody I've talked to, I've mentioned it. And there is one group that's doing did quite a bit of nonprofit work last year, helping out folks with sickness and burials and that sort of thing. So, social group, I say at this point, that does a lot of good stuff. But anyway, that's the only interest that I've had with it. So we still, of course, surplus will be the first step, but we need to decide if we want to try to do a sale or if we want to try to focus on some public purpose. Something that benefits the greater public. So, I mean, I didn't know what the process would be, just to have it here and let people pitch ideas and, before we try to surplus it, or if we have to surplus it first.
I think you gotta go through the process before you can actually do a public hearing, but I mean, you can request just people show up at the work session if they want to speak about it or have an interest. Yeah, I think that'd be the way to go on that.
That's what I'd like to do, and certainly March would be fine to put it off till then.
Is the public hearings on a 30-day notice?
I think it is, and I think we gotta get all our ducks in a row before you can actually start that 30 days.
Well, whenever, however, it will be fine. I just want to get the ball rolling and hear from some public input before.
Maybe put it on our website, and maybe get Miss Fuller to put it on hers, or, because right now we don't have one big website going that anybody that's got any ideas or needs to come to the work session.
I've got some folks that want to come and pitch what they're doing to y'all. Before I say too much about it, let them tell you what they do.
I mean, we've been down this road before. If we want to give it away, let's give it away. I don't think we can own it and let all these people use it because of liability. You know?
Absolutely. I want to make sure we do it right so that nobody feels like they've been left out. And I don't know all,
Why don't you just try to get the word out and have
That's
anybody
what-
interested come to the March work session? And then in the March work session, if you decide to move forward, then you can throw a resolution on to surplus it and start a public hearing and all that.
okay, just invite, we want to announce that the public is invited to, if they have any
Anybody?
comments on the,
I think that'd be up to you, and then,
I definitely want to do that, I just
and
didn't
then
know the
just let me know
proper.
where we put them on the public comment.
We was talking about, and I think this is best to do it at the end of the meeting, so we just tell them to do the end of the March meeting. And because we'll do our 911 in the beginning, and then we'll have a regular meeting, and if there's any public comment.
Yeah,
So it's gonna be at the meeting, not the work session, that you're gonna invite everybody
If
to?
you do it at the work sessions, they don't have to record all this stuff. If you do it during a meeting, it's all gotta be recorded.
Yeah.
That's why we talked about it last month, we would, end the meeting and then have
Okay.
public comments as to the Dallas Lodge after the meeting.
Okay, this month.
Well, we went to March, March is fine.
Okay.
I just think that giving
More time,
more
it's fine,
time
it's
to
fine.
get the public, because we don't want an issue where we all thought that nobody was interested, and then all of a sudden, all these people came out that wanted to save it.
I
Keep
don't,
from going through that same,
I don't want to.
let's get the
a
word out.
public hearing may be a little bit different, but the public comment, is 2 people per subject, is what the official rules say.
I think you
In
better off.
an actual meeting, work sessions are.
I'm not trying to do it inside of a meeting, I just want to give the public an opportunity to come up here and speak to everybody.
I think having it at the work session, Mark, will give people more freely to be able to
I
speak.
don't know if I can get anybody here during the day.
So what you're saying?
And I don't really want to call a special day, but we could call a special meeting outside of normal schedule.
Well, let me ask you this. and I-
Not a commission meeting, but a discussion.
Why can't you,
Do it in
you're
the
the
district.
district meeting, you have a district meeting in your area just on that? Not that wasn't including of us commissioner, to get at least a general idea of what the people's feeling down there, what they're looking to do. Have a meeting just to your people.
Is the power on down there at the lodge?
I ain't never been down there, I can't guarantee.
Well, I don't know if I want to commit to cleaning it up to have a meeting inside there, it's a mess.
But you've got the restaurant down there, you've got, other places down there to hold meetings.
I don't know, let's talk about it some more. I don't know if I wanna do it just down there or do it up there. I really, as far as, the folks I've talked to that have an interest in it, I want them to get a chance to present it to the commission.
I mean, you can do that after we adjourn. I really wouldn't want to do it during the meeting,
No,
but
I don't.
we do whatever you want.
If we can invite folks to be here in the March meeting and then address the commissioners after the meeting, that suits me just fine.
Anything else?
Just FYI, I did a little bit of riding around and looking at some speed limits, and I'll give you an example. A specific example I thought was pretty interesting. Most of the roads are 40 miles an hour. Nearly everything that's marked is marked 40. When you go down County Road 19, turn on 53, 53 is 35. And you go a little ways down through there, and there's another road to the right, paved Blacktop Road. It's the one that circles around 36, can't remember the number. Then it goes to 30 right there. So we've got a variety of speed limits, and I don't know what the basis for them is. But the one that was marked 30 is in about the same shape as the one that I'm proposing that we do a change on. So anyway, that was just FYI. I don't know how many more 35 and 30 mile an hour roads we've got, but
And one of these to the engineers, is he aware?
I hadn't talked to him yet about it. I thought he was gonna be here whenever we got ready down to this point. And I did have a question for him about driveway pipe. How did you decide if a driveway needs a pipe, and what happens if somebody puts in a driveway and don't put in a pipe?
There's a lot, we have a regulation, you know, that you have
Spell
to
out
contact
the guidelines.
the engineer, for a,
When you, just say you apply for a new address, 911's gotta go out and Lee's gotta go out, and part of what he goes out and does, it says, okay, you need a 16-inch pipe right here, or you don't need a pipe, or whatever. And if they pay for the pipe, we will install the pipe.
Is there any recourse if somebody sort of skipped over one of those steps somehow?
What the engineer has told me is if they're going out through a motor grader and they need the ditch cleaned out, they just strip it away, because it's not a real driveway.
Okay.
But
And then
really, you won't get an address until he approves it.
Yeah.
Approves it.
how do we,
You have to apply for the engineers, you have to apply for the engineer's permit first, and then he sends it to Crystal.
how do we identify if it's county maintained road or just an E911 road? Is it gonna be
It's got a green
the
sign.
green sign, pretty accurate?
That's right.
A lot of
This
people,
may be one of those, it may be a green sign.
this is the problem that I run into on culverts, is people would decide they want to put one in out the barn or something, and they'll throw a 6-inch plastic pipe in there and cover it up. And every time I see that, I call Lee and say, okay, you need to discuss this with them, because this ain't gonna work, you know. That's the big problem I have. As far as the other stuff, I really don't have a problem with that.
All right, this specific one I've got concerns with, I've talked to Lee.
of course, but if it's a 911 road, we don't.
I don't know that we can even do a
Pipes.
911 road. if
We don't
pay
control
the
it,
pipe.
if it's a non-pots or none of that, if that's a private, it's private.
Okay,
Private.
that answers a lot. I'll
The
find out.
engineer's not gonna get on that.
Laura, I don't think that you can get a 911 address until you've gone through that process with Lee, regardless of
Even
where,
on unmaintained roads?
regardless of
I
where
was
it
thinking
is.
that you couldn't on a 911 road, we couldn't.
I think the steps have changed because they divert them back to us every time. You have to go through the process with Lee before Lee will process the 911 address to 911. So I don't think, it used to be we could just send it to Crystal, but you can't. You have to go through,
But that'd be up to Lee to decide.
you have to go to Lee first to
But
decide.
I was under the impression on a 911 road that because we, by law, can't, that's not our road.
That'd be like me calling and say, hey, I need a pipe in my creek so I can cross over to the other side of my pasture.
And
Be
where is
same thing.
Lee at?
He left it in there.
Hey, you need to get in here. Okay, question. On a 911 road, Do you go, I mean, are you, telling them what kind of pipe they can put in, you put it in?
I don't know.
That's what I thought.
Do you still go out before they get,
Because
just
we
further back
have
to push
no,
before that?
On a county road, yes.
yeah,
So-
but we have no regulation, I mean, on a private, we don't even get on a private property.
So if they call you, because the process doesn't spell it out real clear, if they call you, you just tell them that's not our road. You get that call sometimes?
Oh, yeah, we have a lot.
Do you put them straight to Crystal in that case, to get the 911
For get
address?
the addresses, yeah. I just don't approve my part of it. I just send it straight on to Crystal.
Do they still have to fill out your part?
They do. Cause
Okay.
it's all in that form, so yeah, it's all filled
Okay.
out. I just don't sign the bottom of it. I
Gotcha.
just send it on to Crystal.
Anything else? Laura?
No, but believe it's in.
Oh, you didn't hear me tell them about speed limits.
Oh, yeah.
I just had an update on a little bit of research I did riding around, mostly 40, almost everywhere is 40. And you go down off 19, 53 goes to 35. And you go down through there, where, I guess where the trash was at, that road turns to right and goes to 30. So you have any idea why the roads are that way?
Those are projects that the state designed back when the state was designing projects for us, and they designed those speed limits. And at that time, you had to post those projects for the design speed limits. That's why you see some different ones.
Is there any chance that whatever road specs they put in it that determined it was a 30 or a 35, that we can follow those specs? At least, maybe if not on every road in the county, at least on the ones where it comes up, like the one in question. And I don't know what the specs are, they said it needed to be 30, but could we apply that to our situation?
A lot of times, those specs really are just striping requirements. What really determines those speed limits is passing lanes and that type of stuff. It's where you really see those design speeds come in.
It was interesting, the 35 had a double yellow line. The 31 is like 81, well, it was like 81. It's got, I don't know how wide your spreader was, but it's got as much overlap in the middle as it's got on the side. It's like 4 feet of overlap, 4 feet. We got a nice crown on those roads, but it was because of that old spreader.
What was that you said?
81 and then one off 53. The one off 53 may not have that overlap, but 81 does.
Yeah, 81, that's
And
correct.
some of those roads in the past, which I'm talking 25, 30 years ago, where they just went through a motor grader and knocked it down flat and shoved some tire and gravel on it, which I don't know what they were trying to do, but it never was really a up to standard road to start with.
Yeah, it was just tar and gravel on the dirt road.
Laura?
And I noticed also, before Lee came in, because this was an issue in my district up on, going up on, Borden Mountain, before you get to Borden, in an area there, some of the commission had changed the speed limit in that area, which was what, 35? It was on a paved
Yeah,
road.
and it didn't really
I
have
think
a
you
reason
changed,
for it.
changed it after you came in, because people were complaining, you know.
It didn't make no sense.
No, not whatsoever, but somebody had passed a resolution to put that sign there.
Back when it was districts, the commissioners pretty much done what they wanted to. I mean, that's basically what it was. And there probably a lot of signs still left out there from back in them days too. Probably never came to, before the commission or nothing, they just took it on themselves to do whatever they wanted.
Got anything, Terry?
Have they sorted out the garbage issue on the auto pay?
I ain't got a solid answer, no. They tell me there that it shouldn't be an issue anymore, but I don't know what happened.
I know I got a couple of calls where they said, hey, they're not picking up my garbage, and I'm on the auto pay, so I don't understand what the problem is. And then Ms. Merle got it fixed on them two, but I'm sure there's more.
There was, that's probably
Facebook, there was a lot.
450 of them that eventually did come through that was like that. I will say this biggest issue we're seeing right now, it's not a problem because everything's in there. But the last billing date was December 15th. Our exemptions all went in first of the year. So there's a lot of the exempts getting bills this time.
Yeah.
But they are on the exempt list, and that list has been turned in.
What about the garbage can pickup? I ain't seen no progress at all on that.
Progress on that.
That was my question, because I'm seeing people are getting their cans picked up, and a couple days later, they got another can out there. But they're not doing it the same day. They're picking up the can, and then a couple days later, because I know, I mean, I'm turning in, they're not getting those cans out there that quick. So I'm just wondering if that truck's coming in a couple days later, put out the new cans.
Well, they're running, I mean, yeah, they got 7 days is what they're supposed to, within 7 days, have that new can out there.
Okay, because that's what I'm seeing, that they're picking up some of the old cans, but they're not putting a new can down when they pick up the old can.
I got you. Well, that's good, because last report I got, they were gonna get started on it, but I hadn't known that they'd actually started doing that, so.
And everybody needs to be aware there's a big theft right now going on, the new cans. I've had several ones
Well,
stolen.
So, I mean, they're doing a good job as far as, if it ain't on the account, they're not picking them up, so. They,
Anybody else?
So they had a billing problem that was on their side, like a computer problem?
it was an auto pay.
Yeah.
And then they went and started pulling cans for non-payment, but it was they caused the problem. Should they maybe postpone picking up the cans a little bit longer before they?
I mean, they didn't realize it was on their end. On their side, all they see is a non-pay. But something happened with the auto pay, that there were several auto pay accounts.
Okay.
I wonder if we should do a sort of campaign to encourage folks to check their address in Google, because it's my understanding that they use a Google-based map for the pickup, and some of the addresses are wrong, like you may be, the 2000 block may show the 20,000 block or something like
They
that.
do this backed up return directions as well.
Some of the complaints I've seen had to do with, I checked my address and it was way off, like on the other side of the road, on the other end of the road or whatever. Yeah, even County Road 43 continues to be a problem because it's county highway in Google and it's county road everywhere else. And you can't find county road when you're looking for county highway or vice versa.
Okay, I got,
Facebook.
as far as Lisa said that we never updated our open records request conditions or paperwork. The new law went into effect October 1st, and the ACCA has the sample forms, the sample procedures, the resolution for adopting the new law's requirements. I think it's something that could go on the consent agenda. The only thing we need to know is you have to fill, one of the fill-ins is you have to designate a public officer that's in charge of open records. So I guess that would either be Lisa or.
What about the cost? I mean, they got paid for each page they get.
Yeah, that would be something, do we have is there a standard
We
county?
already have that. And our general information that we provide, we do have a cost on that. I wanna say it's 20 or 25 cents a page if it's printed, but a lot of times things are electronic now, they just request an electronic copy of something. So we charge for time. If it becomes more than an hour's worth of time for somebody, then we start charging after that first hour.
That was one of the things that they talked a lot about, was go ahead and charge that hourly fee, but base it off a clerk rate, not
Right.
engineer or whoever, but based off of
Right.
Yeah.
a reasonable amount. It was not to discourage them, it was maybe to discourage asking for too much, like, okay, if it's gonna cost you money, then maybe you can just ask for something more specific and not encourage much.
And that may be in here, I'm not
I think it's
certain
$20 per hour, so if I'm not mistaken.
That's-
Like
that's
$20 per
reasonable.
hour. We had one that ran out.
Can you get her to scan all that and email it to us?
Yeah, I'll email it to you. It's all in digital format. And also, Emmett's not here, he's been working at the jail. I thought the sheriff might bring this up, that claim made about the doors and the roof. I think y'all got those.
We got it here.
Are we going to add that to?
Well, until they spend all their maintenance budget up, it ain't really concerning us, is it? Or is it?
This will get it. Clay, you want? explain.
This'll definitely eat it up.
I mean, I don't know exactly what the procedure is, whether they spend their money first, or we can just go ahead and pay for it, or, but,
Well, I thought that he was gonna use part of the, top three, part of that offshore money for this.
Yeah, that's the capital improvement money, that's.
Yeah, that's what he had, that what we had talked about designating it for.
I'm going to pass a resolution.
Well, I thought that's what he had stated.
That's what he told me he wanted to
That-
do.
Yeah, he told me the commission was paying for it, so I don't know if it needs to be, if it's just gonna come straight from that fund.
He was gonna use part of that offshore money to do the construction work on the jail.
Okay, so,
So if that's the case, there wouldn't need to be an amendment to the sheriff's budget, it's just gonna come straight, these two.
well, you're gonna have to do a resolution to spend that money.
Yeah, that's what,
Yeah, that's what I-
well,
Mhm.
before the commission in our last meeting, he talked about it, going to use, you know, what it was like $80,000, 80 something. So he just needs
So
to
they're
have a
already on that,
resolution in place to use it to do the maintenance on the jail.
No, you need a dollar figure,
Well, I mean, that's what he's,
because I'm not gonna just say,
yeah, I mean, he was,
there's $400,000, spend it like you want.
no, I mean, he brought a total amount up that he was gonna need. I
Do
mean,
you have Clay at all? I mean, this is straightforward, this is 15,000 for the roof,
The roof was 15.
15,000.
And I can tell you the door was real quick.
all the stores. You want to get Lisa, get with him and,
Yeah, and the resolution that state just these two vendors, you know, these two deals at a certain amount, I would think.
I could put it on there as a blank amount too, if I need to say that it's approved for this amount of money we spent on it, out of capital improvement fund. Because I do know that Emmett said he was getting with, one other vendor to get a price. I don't believe it was on the roof, I don't believe it was on the doors, might be.
No, I think it was on
Was it on doors?
the sales or something.
It might be, yeah, on the roof, on the
Maybe
floors.
lights, I
Yeah.
think it was lights.
Yeah, lights is the other thing.
And I know he's been talking about the floor too, about getting the metal on the floor and all that, so.
Here.
The only issue is it don't need to go over $100,000, where it don't look like we need to try to divert the $100,000 bid law. I mean, we don't need to do 40,000 this month, and do next month, do 60,000, I mean, we don't,
Can't do that.
yeah, we need to come up with a figure. You know.
Yeah, and what was Dover's?
I'm working
I
on
got
that.
a quote here.
There's
different options.
Yeah, the problem with it was the different options. So you have the 8 doors with just the windows, which is 40,000. Then 2 doors with the window and the little lock pocket, that's just where you pass your tray through. That is 11,000, so it's 51. And then with the continuous hinge is 6,500. And the closures is 8,500.
yeah, it's got to broken down on that.
So,
66,000, right? You got,
Well, it's broke down on the sheet here, that's the body.
Yeah. If you see, so this will be for all the 10 doors here. And then you would have, these are the options for the hinges, Commissioner, and, Owen, sorry, has suggested the continuous hinge because that's the most sturdy one. And 2 with the door closures. Yes, with the door closures.
That's 66,000.
So,
okay, the question is, what's coming next? I mean, it's just gonna get us for this budget year. If it's not gonna get us for this budget year, we need to know, because it accumulates towards that $100,000. If you're doing the same thing, you know, it's maintenance on the jail.
There was something else he brought up, because he did say that, he said, well, I guess that means it's gonna have to be bidded out.
Well, the other things were, I think he got a quote, and Emmett's done all this, and Clad, yes, was $325 per sale
Yeah.
to do the floor and the bed liner, and they're just gonna do 4 at a time. So, you know, that's things that can be spread out.
Yes.
But it will still be within that.
But
This year, next year,
But you gotta, it's within this budget year, is how it works. You know?
so does the budget model go, is it just repairs or per, like, project company? I mean, this is completely different.
I didn't realize it was $100,000 until Jason told us that on the jail, it's 100 instead of what we deal with is 50, yeah. I just don't want, when you see what I'm saying,
Mhm.
okay, we're gonna
And
spend
if
this.
I were, you know, Mike could ask Jason, because just the regular maintenance every year is
Yeah.
$25,000,
So that's why I-
$35,000, but
See,
it's,
that's the same thing we run into in the sheriff's maintenance on his cars. You know, $100 oil change, $100 oil change, and when it all adds up, you gotta beat it out. So if you plan on doing any more projects this year, we need that total. If it's over 100, I think we gotta bid it. If it's not,
Because if this is 80 and then their budget's 25,000, you're over.
this is 60.
does that mean that,
60, but that's just.
I mean,
66 for the doors.
so if you done this, and then like just regular run-of-the-mill daily maintenance, you'd have to bid out going and getting a padlock at Webb's or a,
That's a Jason question.
and that's what I'm saying, is it's all completely different. It's not one big project, it's
Maybe it's capital improvements, one deal, and everyday maintenance is another deal.
yeah, we can ask Jason to find out.
But we sort of need that figure, or either we just gonna cut it off and say, okay, this is all we're doing, except for day-to-day maintenance,
But
the
then
rest
you-
of this year. You got,
And see, one
You
year,
have something to go out. You
and
have-
see, it goes
That's
by,
the
the
purpose.
not just the jail, but the whole county, because one year we were getting new cameras to the jail when Steve was here, and he said, oh, you've got to do this bid, because that's when the courthouse got cameras, and maybe the engineer's office got cameras, we didn't know about that. So we had to go with their bid and couldn't even get the equipment we wanted, because it was over that, at the time.
Jason, might answer that,
I just check with Jason
I mean, I don't
I'll
mind.
call Jason, I used to call him after.
and then
work
check with him and
Yeah.
about the floors and see
where you'll
how
have,
we're going.
have a total amount. Okay.
So do we want to go ahead and kind of tentatively put a resolution on there about the doors and?
Yeah, you can go ahead and put it in and then get with him and.
Just put it in the business where we can.
You know, what we got for me?
So far, I've got, let's see, getting a very good description of that one. We've got to task Jason about the, order. And then, we've got an old business for County Road 81, it was tabled last month. We've got, new business, we've got 3 resolutions, all to do with spraying. One is increase for the pre-emergent substitution. One is not spraying at all, and one is specifically to get rid of the 3, the woody brush, the Johnson grass, and the broadleaf. And then we've got doors and roof resolution for the jail. Yeah, open records request, yeah, I want that on, new business or consent agenda.
Say it again.
Open records request,
You better put that on new business so we can all have a chance to look over it and discuss it, but I sort of agree with what somebody said, I don't remember who said, it needs to be a minimum. If that minimum is an hour, $20 an hour, or whatever, it needs to be a minimum at least.
Yeah, and the new law breaks it into simple requests and more intensive requests.
I had a lady call me here a while back, she said, I one copy of y'all's minutes for the last 3 years. I said, that's fine, probably gonna cost you $2,000 or $3,000 though.
But what they need to realize that all they have to do the minute is go online.
Yeah,
And they need to be told that, or
right.
what I really love, because I've gone, and we all probably need to do that. Mark's video, when we're in doubt of what we said, it shows it specifically on these YouTube videos. So anytime you know, any question about what was said in a meeting, it's on there.
Yeah.
I have gone to it to question myself on something maybe that I said, and I've gone back and reviewed them. They're very educational.
The public records law is very specific about what's actually included in open records. So it would be best if we have, if it's myself, if you want me to be the public records person, that all those requests get forwarded to me, because I'm very, very careful. And like we had one last week that was definitely a questionable one, and it was from an attorney in Georgia asking for some records, requesting that were to do with our opioid litigation. And of course, I knew better. I knew as soon as I got it not to say anything back for that. And I forwarded it to Jason, and he pretty much made it very clear that we would not be responding to that. But, you know.
And you have to be a
it's-
resident of Alabama and prove
You
it
do. Yeah.
before you can get a request.
Right.
Thank you.
Resident of
Yes.
Cleburne County.
No,
Alabama.
Alabama.
Just Alabama.
Just Alabama.
Thank
And
you.
that's been ongoing, so that's nothing new, but there are some, I know there's some new pieces of this that I haven't even had a chance to see yet, but, anytime it's questionable, I just check with Jason.
And then you would just use one of your clerks to basically
Scan
enter the
and email
information.
information.
Instead of tying you up with
Exactly.
something like that, I think you need to use your clerk.
It does happen. We had a request for all the applicants on a specific position that the county advertised and hired for. We had a request from one of the applicants to see all of the applications. So I went back and forth with Jason just to make sure that we didn't provide information. We could actually forward those applications, but, and actually most of them were already electronic because they came in through Indeed. So those were pretty easy for Krista to download the PDF and send those over, but we had to redact certain information from those two. So, we do work on
You
this.
sort of stepping off into it when you start doing that, because if you miss one redaction on somebody's social security number or something, we in trouble.
I know, you have to be careful, but the good thing about it is our applications don't have a social security number on them. I mean, it's addresses and phone numbers, and I personally wouldn't want that handed out, but some of that information is public information, so.
You can hand out my physical address, because I like this stuff in garbage, I don't know what
Right, and back to, I just wanted you to be aware, we're just gonna take a look at that a little bit more before we present it. And because we wanna make sure that we're doing everything right
So you're not sure if it'll be on the
on,
agenda?
on this upcoming, what we didn't decide.
We'd appreciate it if you put it on the agenda. It's, this is the explanation I went through.
Yeah.
And one thing I did want to mention, thank you for the opportunity to speak again, but, we were talking about how the bass are handled. Well, there's a better way to do that, and that's a catch, weigh, and release, where they could actually catch the fish, weigh it, put it right back in the water, document it. No more time. So,
Does the state or anybody charge any kind of fees to be in this tournament?
the state,
Yeah.
not that I know of.
I mean, if
I guess
they're
that's
gonna
not
start, if they're gonna start regulating it, then that might be the next step.
because we have a lot of the tournaments, you have a lot of tournaments going on
Yeah.
and all. And now you have a lot of the schools that has
Bass
the
fishing.
fishing
Right.
programs. Right.
This kills it.
Yeah, I know they're doing it, it's a big thing now. So, you know, I just want to kind of look into it a little bit more.
Okay, do you have a copy of the resolution?
Yes, I have a copy of the resolution.
Like I said, now Lisa, I believe you're Lisa,
Yes, sir.
has an electronic version that you can modify if you decide. Just let me know if you're gonna have it on the agenda. I would sure appreciate it. Like I said, we've had Clay, Cherokee who accepted it. I believe DeKalb's going to. I'm kind of, you know, because of the things we're going to do this in this part of the state, but, you know, I think it's really important to, at least to support the economy of East Alabama. And this is our lifeblood.
What do we got to do to get a riverkeeper group active in the Tallapoosa River Basin? Get you a new address, take you over.
We're actually planning, let me talk to my executive director about it, you know.
It's something we needed for a long time, and it just, when we got an issue, we've got no representation at all, other than the Alliance.
Have they held that at all?
The Alliance?
Yeah.
Well, they've taken the lead role in this Georgia situation now, but really there hasn't, the type of work you do on the Coosa is non-existent on the Tallapoosa.
I appreciate that. Well,
And so, let me ask you this,
Yes, ma'am.
if they're doing tournaments, let's say, the high school's doing a tournament on it, how are they to, if they don't put that fish in their dry well to bring it back in to be weighed, how would they, and then they release it? You're saying you don't want to do it that?
no, that's another solution. In other words, the way the tournaments run, and then one of the objections was, okay, bass fishermen are out there for hours, 3 hours, throw the fish in the live well. Don't know how much oxygen is in there, you don't know what kind of bacteria. Then they yank the fish out and bring them to a weigh-in where they're out of the water, and then they release them. You know, when they're half beat up anyway, they release them in an area that it's not their native habitat. They were caught maybe 10 miles downstream. So what they're trying to do is look at the way around that, like I said, is the catch, weigh, and release. So they catch the fish, and the report says there's no mortality if they do the catch, weigh, and release. So the slot limit is not the total solution. It's like a Band-Aid they're putting on it. But it kills the economic impact because the bass clubs are freaking out about it, your fishing teams. And if it's to put these fishermen to try to get fish bigger than 20 inch, which are more difficult to catch.
Let me ask you this question.
Yes, sir.
So they're trying to write the rules for the tournament, basically.
Yes.
But it's not a rule of the land. It's not the rule for regular fishermen. They're trying to.
Only bass tournaments only on the Coosa
So
River.
you can catch a 19-inch fish all day long and take it home with you.
Yes, sir.
But they are trying to tell the tournament you can't count a 19-inch fish and score in the tournament.
You hit it on the head.
Do they have those issues?
Strange rule.
It's
like putting together a 5K, it's a little day event.
Trying to push our local school to get into the bass, into the fishing.
Mark, y'all, before they can get back to work, can we?
I'm good.
Talk after?
Yeah, we're,
Okay, that's adjourned.
Thank you, sir.
we're just asking him some questions.